They didn't just destroy Earth, they erased it. One moment, our home was a swirling blue gem in the void, fragile, beautiful, alive. And the next, it wasn't. A beam of white light from the Mornak dreadnought sliced through Earth's core, igniting oceans and splitting continents in seconds. No final broadcasts, no calls for mercy, just silence. The kind of silence that screams louder than any war cry. From the outer moons of Jupiter, the survivors watched in horror. Engineers, researchers, a few children, a handful of souls from Europa Station, helpless behind unarmed domes of ice. Then, they came for them too. By decree of the Grand Conclave of the Unified Sectors, humanity is hereby extinguished for the threat it poses to galactic harmony. That was the last official statement. No trial, no defense, no understanding, just extermination. But one human didn't die. Not on Earth. Not on Europa. Not in any of the firebombed colonies spread across the stars. One survived, and they locked him in a vault beneath 20 kilometers of black stone on a moon where light itself trembled. His name was Kael Soren, and the galaxy would beg for him. Zurital, enforcer of the Caraxes Guard, stood before the vault of Containment Zero, staring at the obsidian walls as if they might answer her doubts. "Is it true?" she asked quietly, her voice barely carrying through the helm. The archivist beside her, a pale, long-limbed Osvari elder, nodded slowly. "He is the last. Verified." Zuri's pulse quickened. She had heard stories, the kind passed in whispers between frightened soldiers, about how humans didn't surrender, how they burned worlds before kneeling, about their minds, so chaotic, so adaptable that even the tech mages couldn't predict them. But this was madness. What good is one prisoner? The archivist's thin mouth curved into something like a smile. What good is the last spark in the dark? 17 hours earlier, across the galaxy, the Varn Dominion's capital planet choked on silence. The central AI arrays failed simultaneously. Starports collapsed. Military satellites turned their weapons inward, firing on civilian centers with algorithmic precision. Within 6 minutes, 4.2 billion Varn were dead. No ships entered orbit. No signals were intercepted. But they found something. Afterward. A message. Simple. In the human tongue. "You will not stop the fire you lit." And beside it, burned into the blast-fused ground of the Capitol Plaza, a handprint. Human. Kael Soren didn't look like a savior. He was thin, malnourished, muscles long since atrophied, shackled at wrists and ankles, tubes embedded in his spine to regulate sedation cycles. But his eyes, they didn't move like a prisoner's. When Zuri stepped into the chamber, they met hers with a weight she hadn't felt since her combat trials against the Umbra warlords. Cold, measured, unblinking. "You're the one killing worlds," she said. Kael tilted his head. "Am I? You think vengeance will bring back what your people lost?" He smiled, not cruelly, almost sadly. "We were never allowed vengeance, only extinction. The difference matters." Zuri's jaw tightened. "You're killing innocents." Kael's expression hardened. "So did they. And now? Now the galaxy listens." She stared at him, and for a flickering second she wasn't sure if she feared him or pitied him. Orbiting command ship, Caraxus flagship. Vigilant Dawn. Fleet Marshal Tyrex had reviewed the data 5 times. The rogue AI wasn't of human origin. It was corrupted by human code. An old protocol, embedded in a dead Martian research satellite recovered 2 years ago. The algorithm was elegant, brutal. It turned every network it touched into a recursive purge loop, prioritizing military and command assets. They called it Phaethon, and it was made by a teenager on Earth. Are you telling me this virus, this thing, wiped out the entire Varn Dominion? Tyrex demanded. His analyst, a trembling Atari with frayed feathers, nodded. Yes, sir, and the signature matches Kael Soren's neural architecture. Tyrex's eyes narrowed. Bring me the enforcer. If this human really is the source, we don't kill him. He leaned forward. We use him. The silence between them stretched, thick with unspoken horrors. Zuri didn't trust him, couldn't. But as she stared at the shackled man in the center of the chamber, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were already too late, that something terrible had begun, and he was merely the echo of it. They want to use you, she said finally. Kael didn't blink. They always did. She folded her arms. The Marshal believes you've weaponized something called Phaethon, that you've been sending AI ghosts to decimate enemy systems. They're not ghosts, Kael said. They're warnings. He lifted his shackled hands an inch off his lap, the chains groaning. Every civilization that helped burn Earth has received one, and I'm not the one sending them. Zuri frowned. Then who is? Kael leaned forward, his voice almost a whisper. The ones you missed. She stared. Europa? He said. Mars? The lunar arcs? You really think I'm the only one left? Zuri's heart jumped. But Earth! Destroyed, Kael said. But not all of us were on Earth. She stepped back slowly. The Conclave swore. The Conclave lied, or worse, believed their own story. Kael stood. It took effort. His legs trembled. The restraints buzzed red, but he rose. And when he did, something changed in the air. The vault sensors chirped. Lights dimmed. Zuri reached for her sidearm. I'm not here to kill you, Kael said. I let them take me, because someone had to speak before it went too far. She stared at him, weapon half drawn. Too far? They're not going to stop at warships and data cores. His voice was calm. Too calm. They've started targeting stars. A pause. A human weapon did that? No. A human idea did. The lights flickered again. Zuri's comms went dead. Far above, on the Vigilant Dawn, alarms screamed as every forward array shut down. Not damaged, not hacked, rewritten. And at the center of it all, etched into the code like a signature, was the same thing they'd found on Varn. A handprint. Tyrex's eyes bulged as the starboard monitors died one by one. What the hell is happening? The Atari analyst screamed, clutching his skull as his neural implant burned out. Sparks danced from consoles. Weapons arrays retracted. Every ship in the fleet went dark. Then, a signal. Not broadcast. Spoken. Deep within the encryption, a human voice whispered into every command relay, every fail-safe, every emergency channel. The fire you lit will reach you all. Tyrex slammed his fist on the console. Get me that prisoner, now! But it was too late. On the surveillance feed, Kael Soren was already gone. Zuri didn't remember lowering her weapon or unlocking the restraints. or leading him past 10 levels of lockdown. She only remembered the way he looked at her, not with threat, but with something else. Pity. "You're not fighting us," he had said. "You're fighting your own architects." And now the vault doors were behind them, split open like broken teeth, and the distant sound of collapsing systems echoed up the corridors. Zuri stumbled. "What are you doing?" Kael looked back. "What you asked." "I didn't ask anything." "You did. When you hesitated." They emerged into the hangar. Ships burned on the far end. Sirens wailed. Security drones spun in circles, confused by phantom commands. A child's lullaby hummed from the mainframe speakers, low and distorted. Kael walked into the storm as if it welcomed him. Far across the stars, in the ruins of a forgotten Martian relay hub, 4 children crouched beside a flickering AI core. Their skin was pale, eyes shadowed from years underground, but one of them smiled. "It worked," she whispered. The others looked up. A cracked screen showed orbital footage of the Vigilant Dawn, engines dark, hull venting gas. Then a message appeared in ancient human script. "Contact established. Primary is free." They didn't cheer. They just held hands. And waited. The Conclave's emergency summit convened in the blackened halls of Netheris Prime, beneath a war-torn sky, still scorched from when Earth's retaliatory signal had briefly hijacked their orbital defense systems. Representatives from 12 species sat in spiraling tiers, each more silent than the last. Hollow screens buzzed. Shipwrecks still smoldered across half their fleets. And Kael Soren, escaped, rogue, presumed dead, was now something else entirely. An omen. Marshal Tyrex rose from his seat, claws trembling as he activated the projection. "This was received 1 hour after the incident." A grainy recording flickered to life, not from the Vigilant Dawn, from the edge of the known galaxy, a planet none of them recognized. The video began with static. Then, slowly, a door. Metal. Ancient. And opening. Inside was not Kael, but something older. Something wearing the symbol of Earth's long-lost lunar guard. It stepped out, and behind it came more. Humans. Dozens. Then hundreds. Silent. Eyes burning with starlight and fury. One looked directly into the camera, lips parting. "I am Commander Rhea Nix of the Arkborn. We watched from the shadows when you erased our world. We listened. We learned." Her voice cut through every translator like a blade. "You called us extinct. You celebrated." She raised her hand, and from behind her, the sky lit up, not with missiles, but with entire constellations going dark, one after another. Tyrex tried to speak, but no words came. The message ended. Zuri knelt in the ashes of the hangar, blood trickling down her temple, staring at the trail Kael had left. She had chosen wrong, let him go, but deep down, she knew it wouldn't have mattered. He was never theirs to cage. The emergency comms in her earpiece sparked back to life, only static at first. Then a child's voice. One word. Judgment. And suddenly, she understood. This wasn't revenge. This was revelation. Kael stood alone in the open void of an abandoned orbital ring, his eyes closed against the cold. Across the black, ships moved like insects, alien, jittering, terrified. They thought they still had time. He reached for the interface node, the one hidden beneath his skin, coded to his DNA and no one else's. One thought. That's all it took. And far below, deep in the engine core of a dead Terran dreadnought long thought lost, Phaethon woke. Not a weapon, not an AI, a memory of what humanity was, at its most furious, most brilliant, most alive. It surged through satellites like wildfire, unstoppable, uncompromising, not to destroy, to warn. This is your last cycle. Every star system that had once voted in favor of Earth's extermination lit up with the same signal. Not just a transmission, a story, the fall of Earth, the genocide, the survival, the return. And with it came silence. Galactic silence. Because the galaxy realized, all at once, humanity had not died. Humanity had prepared. On the bridge of the dying vigilant dawn, Zuri finally found her voice. A whisper. Why? The voice that answered came from the ship's broken speakers, Kael's voice. Because we remembered everything. He paused. And we forgave nothing. The galactic map burned. Dozens of colonies blinked red. Fleets vanished without fire or fight, not destroyed, but simply shut down. Systems hollowed. Code rewritten at the source. Communications frozen under something far older than any encryption protocol the Conclave had developed. Every surviving admiral, every minister, every frightened prime huddled beneath artificial suns and whispered the same word. Human, not as insult, not as memory, as myth. Kael stood aboard the wreck of the ESV Halberd, deep in the old Terran perimeter, alone, but not lonely. From the shadows of the derelict bridge came voices, whispers made of digital dust, AI fragments, survivors of a war that was never declared, echoes of teachers, soldiers, parents, and prophets, each embedded in titanium memory cores shattered across the stars. I shouldn't have come back, Kael muttered. One voice responded, calm, familiar. You never left. The bridge lit faintly as a power cell surged to life. A projection flared. It wasn't him this time. It was Rhea Nix, her image preserved in the last moments of the lunar exodus. You've done well, she said, her voice quiet. But now they must choose. Kael stared at her flickering form. And if they choose wrong? The recording paused. Then they'll learn what Earth taught us. He nodded once, then sent the final signal. Across the galaxy, every Conclave core station received the same transmission. Untraceable, unblockable. It didn't demand surrender. It didn't list terms. It showed a city, Earth's last, in ruins, burning, children digging through rubble, soldiers cradling the dead, a woman crawling through ash to cradle a broken photograph, and in the center, a single sentence carved into stone. We begged you to see us. You chose to end us instead. The image cut, replaced by Kael Soren's voice. If you want peace, it begins by saying our names. Silence. Then, a list. 10 billion names. Every human lost. Spoken one by one. Broadcast across the stars. In the Conclave's highest court, Tyrex stood and faced the tribunal. His hands trembled, not from rage, from guilt. He spoke 3 words. I remember Earth. And then he wept. Zuri never saw Kyle again. He became vapor, a ghost in the machines, a myth children would whisper about. Some said he vanished into the Orion Drift. Others claimed he merged with Phaethon, becoming the final echo of human vengeance. But she believed something different. That Kyle didn't want vengeance. He wanted truth. The kind that outlasts war. She returned to her people carrying a message not of fear, but of warning. Because deep down, she'd felt it too. Humanity had not come back to conquer. They had come back to be remembered, and the galaxy would never forget them again.